What's up guys, and welcome back to the channel. Today, Kamaru Usman reveals a plan to fight for the UFC light heavyweight title. Rashad Evans says nobody's a better trash talker than Conor McGregor. Khabib Nurmagomedov's Eagle FC unreels a movie-like trailer for their first US event. Shamaya grapples with Bellator welterweight champion at Tiger Muay Thai, and much more news. If you are new, please make sure you subscribe to the channel and also like the video for more daily MMA content. Khabib Nurmagomedov's Eagle FC is scheduled to make their United States debut on January 28th in Miami, Florida. The promotion has now unveiled a movie-like trailer in the lead-up to the first event on US soil. Chael sonnen picks Khabib Nurmagomedov as his MVP of UFC 270. Despite the other great performances that night, including the co-main event and the main event, sonnen felt that the Russian stood out the most.
I'm trying to find a way to bring in some shine to the single greatest performance that we saw Saturday night, which, by the way, was not in your main or co-main event. It was not a surprise on the undercard. It was a main card fight, Stamann versus Nurmagomedov. What Nurmagomedov did and how he did it, he did everything you can do to a human being in 40 seconds. That whole fight was 41 seconds. Stamann is a straight up badass. You have to understand that. And Stamann came to fight. Stamann's in great shape. He's explosive. He's powerful. He's strong. He understands range. You go right down the list. You're checking boxes for Stamann. Oh, and by the way, that was the right Stamann. That was not a bad performance. Stamann came across that ring and he started throwing heat with bad intention. Nurmagomedov hit him in the mouth, spin, kick him in the breadbasket, lock him up, drag him to the ground, tap him out. He did all of these things in 40 seconds.
Kamaru Usman has revealed that he had plans to jump 2 weight divisions and challenge former light heavyweight champion Jan Blachowicz in the past. Usman has often maintained that he won't fight his good friend Israel Adesanya for the middleweight belt just to prove that he is the GOAT. During a recent conversation with GQ magazine, that Nigerian nightmare claimed that he was ready to put on an extra 35 pounds and square off against Blachowicz in order to become a 2-division UFC champ. He said, "I was gonna skip Israel and go fight Jan at 205 because I am the pound for pound. I want to prove it, and no matter what the weight is. I thought he was a really good matchup for me, and I think I would beat him." Rashad Evans has marked Conor McGregor as the greatest trash talker in the sport. The number 2 spot on his list is occupied by former UFC fighter Chael Sonnen, whose call out to Anderson Silva is one of the most iconic in the promotion's history. Kamaru Usman believes his long-term rival Colby Covington's created a monster to make himself a bigger pay-per-view star in the UFC. While speaking to GQ, he said this: "He has to do that. He doesn't have the luxury of being himself like I am. I mean, he created a monster, you know? He started telling everyone, well, I'm playing a character because they were going to cut me. He wanted to break it. He wanted to drop it, but he just couldn't. People already hate him, and now it's like you got to double down and lean into it if you're gonna ever make money in this sport." I couldn't really hear, but he was a real person. He was a genuine person, and I was like, oh shit. Jack Hermanson is scheduled to headline UFC Fight Night 200 against Sean Strickland on February 5th. Ahead of his upcoming bout, Hermanson weighed in on the UFC 270 heavyweight title unification between Francis Ngannou and Ciryl Gane. During a scrap in the final round, Gane lost top position to Ngannou after he failed a heel hook attempt. In a recent interview with the Schmo, Hermanson was asked to point out the flaws in the Frenchman's submission attempt. The Joker felt that Gane tried the heel hook because he was tired.
For a second, this past weekend we saw Ciryl Gane against Francis Ngannou, UFC 270. As a submission specialist, what do you make of Ciryl Gane's attempt at the heel hook on Francis Ngannou?
Yeah, you know, it wasn't a perfect attack, but at the same time, I think he was very fatigued, and he was just like, I'm just gonna jump at it and see if I can get a nice finish. But the details weren't on place, and I think he knows that as well.
What would you have done differently if you were coaching him in the corner?
No, when it comes to the heel hook, you know, his wedges weren't closed, so he was kind of open with his legs and didn't get his feet in the right places and so on. So that was something that could have been adjusted, and maybe. Yeah, it wasn't the perfect situation to drop down for the heel hook. He lost his own good position as well.
Michael Bisping provides his analyst for upcoming middleweight championship rematch between Israel Adesanya and Robert Whittaker. Bisping's opinion that Whittaker will have to make significant adjustments if he hopes to reclaim the middleweight strap. During an interview with Submission Radio, the Englishman said Whittaker should borrow tricks from Jan Blachowicz playbook to defeat Adesanya.
Neil Roberts said recently when he saw the fight with Jan Blachowicz that laid out the blueprint on how to beat Israel. Well, that's not really a big revelation, is it? We all know he's a kickboxer. Take him down. But it's been harder to take him down than what people think. You know, Israel's takedown defense has been very good. What Robert needs to do in this one, and I think more what he's talking about here, is letting Israel attack him. That's what we saw Jan Blachowicz do. He was standing his ground pretty much and letting Israel come forward and be the aggressor, and that makes it easier to counter. Also, Robert's got to use a lot of feints, a lot of misdirection. The feints are the key to everything, right? When he throws feints, make Israel think that he's going to throw a right hand or whatever, then Israel reacts, and then that's when he attacks. So he's got to draw the attack out of Israel, but easier said than done.
Henry Cejudo and Davison Figueiredo recently celebrated the Brazilian's victory over Brandon Moreno at UFC 270. While winning the flyweight title certainly calls for celebration, Figueiredo and Cejudo partied so hard that the cops showed up at their place.
You earned it. You just need the music to come down. Come back to Brazil. She's like, arrest them, I'm leaving.
Keep celebrating, guys.
Appreciate you guys' work. Absolutely. Thank you, sir. You guys have a good night. All righty. You too. Thank you, guys.
Stephen Wonderboy Thompson has weighed in on the rumored fight between welterweight contenders Hamza Shamaya and Gilbert Burns. While speaking to Middle East James Lynch, Stephen Wonderboy predicted that if they were to clash inside the octagon, he'll pick Shamaya to beat Dorninho. Wonderboy stated, "Man, that's a good one. I fought Gilbert Burns, and I don't think he's gonna fight Hamza Shamaya the way he fought me. Burns is gonna be looking for the submissions off the takedowns. He's gonna be looking for that guillotine for sure. So you know he's gonna be submission savvy in this fight. And Hamza Shamaya is a strong wrestler, but he can strike as well. So that's a dangerous opponent for anybody out there, especially Gilbert Burns. He got the shorter reach, he's a shorter opponent, and here Shamaya is very tall, very long, and he can put that to good use. I think Shamaya can win it." Hamza Shamaya has been doing some hardcore training since going over to Thailand and working with the coaches over there. In a recent Instagram video, he could be seen doing some intense grappling with the Bellator champion.